The MacBook lineup in 2026 is the best it's ever been, and honestly, that's kind of a problem. Stay with me. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Right now, we're looking at three machines: the MacBook Neo at the entry, the MacBook Air in the middle, and the MacBook Pro at the top. I have been using the Air and the Pro for a while, but to make sure I'm not missing anything, I went out and bought a MacBook Neo and ran a few tests while I was at it. So today, I want to walk you through where each of these machines actually sits, run some benchmarks across all three, and then come back to that opening line. Why is the best lineup ever a problem? Let me start at the top. The MacBook Pro is the top of the line laptop Apple is offering right now. It's an absolute powerhouse. It has all the ports you actually need at a reasonable level. It comes in a ton of configuration across M5 Pro and M5 Max. And yes, it has fans. Fans are important here because they are actually not available on any other laptop Apple is offering currently. And it matters when you push the machine for hours at a time. The screen is a step better than the rest of the lineup, the speakers are better, and it comes with the obvious happy price tag. From there, we go to MacBook Air. The Air sits below the Pro and has a ton of configurations of its own. The big difference: no fan, very thin, not a ton of ports, but it's perfect for a lot of the things you actually need to do day to day. And the battery life on it is absolutely monstrous. The Air is the everyday workhorse of this lineup. And then recently we got the MacBook Neo. The Neo is probably the most important product in the entire lineup. Not because it's the fastest, not because it's the flashiest, but because of what it does for Apple as a whole. The Neo is the entry point. It is the machine that gets a student, a parent, a first-time Mac buyer through the door. And when they pick it up, they get the same aluminum body, the same build quality, great speakers, the same software experience that people are paying 3 times as much are getting on the Pro. That's wild. Nobody else in the laptop industry does this. You buy a cheap Windows laptop, you feel it immediately. You buy a Neo, it feels like a real Mac. For most people, the Neo is more than enough. I will say that again because it matters. The Neo is enough for most people who think they need an Air. And honestly, it is enough for a lot of people who think they need a Pro. Without the Neo, I'm not sure the Air or the Pro look as good as they currently do. I actually want to take a step back and explain how all of this was made possible.
And as we've said, we're developing a family of chips, and we're going to transition the Mac line to these new chips over the next couple of years. Well, today, we are incredibly excited to announce our first step in this transition with our first chip designed specifically for the Mac. And we call it M1. M1 has been optimized for our most popular low-power systems where small size and power efficiency are critically important.
The M1 was the breakthrough moment. A lot of people did not realize how big of a deal it was at the time. The hardware was never Apple's problem. The hardware has always been high quality. They just could not get the chip right, and they were not getting the attention they needed from that Intel. Apple Silicon fixed that. The architecture model of the combining efficiency cores and the performance cores keeps getting refined every year. More power, less energy, more bandwidth. That is the engine driving this whole lineup. So I wanted to actually test this. I have an M2 Max, I have an M4 Air, and like I said, I just grabbed the MacBook Neo to see what it can do. The full deep dive on the Neo is going to be a separate video, so make sure you tune in for that one. I did not want to do the obvious benchmark of M5 versus M5 Max or M5 versus A18. What I wanted to show is that how the chip in the Neo stacks up against previous models like M4 or M2 when it comes to efficiency. Quick look at configurations on my desk. The Neo 13-inch, LED backlight, resolution is not great, doesn't get very bright. On the Neo, I'm okay with that. I'm not expecting 120Hz on Neo. The Air gets a little bit more pixel density, but the brightness is still a challenge and the refresh rate has not moved. On the Pro side, we're still dealing with the notch, but 120Hz per motion does help. The mini LED panel sustains over 1500 nits and add real punch to the color. Also, it comes with additional ports like HDMI or the SD card slot. So, I ran the benchmark across all three, and a few things stood out. The Air has the insane battery life. That is the headline here for me. For the kind of work most people are doing, the battery number is going to do a lot of heavy lifting. The Neo scored really well, especially on the single core efficiency side, and that's kind of expected. I was not counting on crushing multi-core renders, and it did not, but single core performance here is honestly very impressive at this price tag. And on the Geekbench single core score, the M4 Air actually outperforms my M2 Max. Same chip family, 4 years apart, and lighter machine wins over raw single core. That tells you everything about how fast this silicon is moving. So let's talk about the display. I pulled some 4K footage and first put my MacBook Pro side by side with my Air, Neo, and my OLED monitor from Asus in the background. And then with my Dell Precision 5690, which has an OLED panel. It might be hard to see the difference depending on your screen and how YouTube compresses this, but from where I'm sitting, it's pretty obvious. The OLED looks gorgeous. The MacBook screen looks fine, but next to OLED, it looks pretty obvious. I know Apple is aware of this. They are reportedly working on an OLED MacBook Pro for later this year. And here's my problem. The price is gonna go up. I'm almost guaranteeing it. Customers are already paying a lot for these machines. And OLED has existed for a very long amount of time. And I think customers should not have to pay a premium for a tech that has been on the shelf for years. But whatever they call it, MacBook Pro Ultra, MacBook Pro OLED, whatever it is going to come with a bigger price tag than most people expect. My recommendation? Well, if you're a student, grab the education discount and get the Neo around $550. That's where it makes most amount of sense. You'll be satisfied if all you're doing is just the entry-level tasks. And if you have another Apple product, like an iPhone or AirPod, you'll be happy with this device. But if you're paying full $600, I think it's a bit of a tougher sell, because you're not getting the Touch ID unless you spend another $100 with more storage, and there's no way to add keyboard backlit if that's important to you. At that point, I would skip the Neo. It does a lot well, but the value just isn't there compared to something like M3 or M4 Air when the prices are this close. You can even find a cheaper Air or Pro, sometimes at places like Walmart or Best Buy with the certified refurbished units, which helps the case a little bit. If you want a little bit more breathing room for things like storage, the bigger library, or like creative work, the M5 Air is still a solid option. I think the battery life alone makes this look really, really good. If you're more of a power user and your current machine is on last leg, the M5 Pro is fine, but a redesign is coming and you'll probably feel that if you buy now. So if you can hold off, I would, because I am. Okay, so back to that opening line. Why is the best MacBook lineup ever a problem? It is a problem because Apple has been holding back. And they have been holding back for a while. The tech in these machines are not actually the best in class compared to a lot of the better Windows laptops out there. Whether it's the display, the front camera, the bezels, the materials, there's almost always something out there doing it better. But what Apple does, they do really well, they package everything together. The aluminum, the trackpad, the speakers, the software, battery life, and most consumers do not know what else is out there. So everybody's typically okay with it. And honestly, I'm okay with it too, because I cannot really go back. The macOS factor alone is a whole nother reason for many of us stay, and that is a story for another day. And Apple knows this. They know they do certain things really, really well that customers actually care about, and they know they don't have to try that hard everywhere else. And that comes at the expense of tech enthusiasts like you and I. When you actually look at some of the good Windows laptops out there, you go, wow, look at all that display, look at that camera, how thin those bezels are. Of course, if you can just ignore the Windows 11. But on the other side, no one is going to match Apple's speakers anytime soon. No one's going to be touching the battery life. The macOS is a breeze in itself. And on top of that, Apple keeps tightening the ecosystem, at least at the North America. But your AirPods, your iPhone, your watch, your iPad, all of that is just tucked to your laptop. You do not have to do anything, and you don't have to leave the ecosystem at all. So they keep developing the ecosystem and migration story for a while, and in my opinion, they're not progressing as fast as they should on the actual product. So Apple's strategy right now is more about capturing the entry-level and budget-friendly audience than pleasing the enthusiasts. And it's working. They know the enthusiasts are not going to leave just because the latest tech display has not made it to the Pro yet. And that's the problem. The lineup is great because the floor has gone up, but the ceiling has not moved nearly as fast as it should have. So, the Neo is the quiet hero, the Air is the workhorse, and the Pro is coasting. The redesign is coming, and I will be back the second it drops to break it down. This is almost perfect. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you liked it, and give me the thumbs up.